All right, Martin, thanks so much for being a guest on Wicked Smart Golf today, man. Really excited to have you on the show.
Good being on. Wicked Smart. Is it?
Wicked Smart.
Where does the name come from? Are you from Boston or something like that?
I know I always let everybody down. I'm not. I just love movies and I watch Good Will Hunting and The
Yeah.
Town and The Departed too many times. So I blame Affleck and Wahlberg, all those guys. So, a couple
Okay.
of cocktails though. I'll definitely
Yeah.
whip out that Boston accent anytime you need it.
There you go. That's all.
Well, it's not every day we get to have a top 10 coach in the country here. So again, appreciate you being here. You've done a lot in the game and really excited to share, so much you've learned. You've helped hundreds of thousands of people at this point. So want to kind of rewind though and figure out, where you got started. I know everybody has their own kind of starting point. So take us back, when did you really fall in love with the game and figure out
Mhm.
this was kind of it?
Man, just this story popped up on Instagram today. I forget what podcast I was on. My dad started playing golf and like, where's he going on weekends? Like, what's going on here? Because he didn't play golf. And then my mom was like, he's playing golf. There's these weird things in the garage and their golf clubs. So I took one of the schoolyard, which is about 2 blocks from the house, knocked it around a bit, saw a bit on TV naturally. Didn't really realize if you caught it solid, it could go pretty far. And I hit one, it broke a neighbor's window. And so that was like my introduction to the game. Now, the interesting thing was it could have gone one of two ways. Like if he would have played bad that day when we got this, so the neighbor and I walked home. He walked to my house, which is kind of weird because it was a couple blocks, felt like we were, I was on death row. And my dad could have been really upset and could have gone awful late, but he must have played decent. We walk up the front door to my house, rings the doorbell, and now I'm really freaked out because I never went to my front door. And my dad comes to the door and he's like, "Hey, fellas, what's going on?" And I go, "Dad, I broke a window." And the guy's like, "Yeah, he hit a golf ball over the fence and broke my window." My dad's like, "Really? How far did he hit it?" So, that was kind of cool because we all have an opportunity to react to something, and it's like, and trust me, my dad wasn't a perfect reactor, but he was. That moment was cool because he didn't kind of lose it, and he had a bit of fun with it, and it was only a window, and I wasn't like a total shithead as a kid, so that was my start to golf, breaking away.
That's that's a I can't say I've had a lot of guests on here, but that's definitely a new one. So I'm glad that Dad had a good day and was in a good mood, right?
Right?
So
Yeah,
that
too. So it was one of those things where he's like, "Well, you're interested in golf? I suck. Let me get you some instruction."
there you go. How old were you when you started then?
Oh man, I think that window was like 6 or 7. And then so it wasn't like formal after that. It was, hey, there was some interest. My little cousin
Mm,
and I would knock it around a big park. Then he would take us to this. There was a 9-hole course. It was a course called Cherry Downs, and it was north of the city. Him and my uncle would go play golf. My cousin and I would just hang out there all morning and play this little executive track that they had. And there's kids around, so there's one kid better than the other kid, and we're trying to compete, and we got to do that. I don't know. It felt like every weekend, but it probably wasn't that often, right? Really, back when we were really little. And then just kind of spurned the love of it. And then the big deal for me to develop was there was a little 9-hole course in Toronto called Flemington Park. And for anybody listening that's in that area, they know it's kind of where that is. It's Eglinton and Don Mills, which is just north of the downtown area by 5, 6 miles. And it was a little muni course, and I could go there by myself on the bus back when kids could do stuff without the
right.
hovering over them. So I would take a bus like a mile and a half to Don Mills and take that bus down the road like 5 or 6 miles, and I'd walk like 300 yards, and there I was at this 9-hole course. Or my dad would drop me off there. My mother didn't drive, so I'd wear the grass off that thing like from the time I was 9. I had a summer pass there, and I'd wear the grass off of it, and yeah, that was
I
cool.
love I love when it gets deep in the subconscious at an early age like that, because that's how I was too. Just like once I mean, I sucked, but I loved it. I was like, this game is
Yeah,
so hard, but it's so addicting.
yeah.
Were you instantly getting into like high school competitions and tournaments and stuff, or were you more on the
Oh,
casual side?
way before high school. So like this was, when I was at this little mini course, they had one tournament. They had the club championship, this junior club championship, and it was a kind of an informal. Hey, who wants to play? It'll be on this weekend. It wasn't a big deal because it was a pay as you play course that was. It had a few regulation holes and mostly par threes, and so I happened to win it. It was like and I'm like I was a competitive kid, and I kind of knew the landscape of the age groups and stuff. I'm like, yeah, if I kind of put it together here, and it's one of those things where I could put together a bunch of pars and stuff at that age, 9, 10 years old, and so I think I shot 39 for 9 holes and won the junior club championship. And so that was a bit of a buzz, like, hey, I won that. And then it got into more formal tournaments. I want to say I qualified for the Ontario Junior, I think it was called the Bantam when I was like 11, something like that. Like I won the qualifying, shot 81 or something. And we played from like the ladies' tee. And then I started, I played hockey too. Like I loved hockey,
Hmm.
still love hockey. And the interesting thing was that the, that, that it was a nice blend of like tournaments and then ice hockey. And then I started
Hmm.
winning junior tournaments. And so it was just kind of fun, like winning events is fun.
I was gonna say winning makes it a lot more fun.
You're winning stuff like what, that's awesome. So, I just kind of got into it. And then that turned into more, I play in 15 tournaments a summer, maybe 20, as many as I could get in. And my dad would drop me off, or, other fathers would carpool and stuff. And so it's just a blast. Then I got to where I was playing in bigger events, Ontario Junior, going down to the US and playing in AJGAs. And, just I knew from a young age, like once I was probably 11 or 12 that I wanted to be a golf pro.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I loved hockey, but it was like golf had got me, and I knew I was pretty good at it. And I'm like, I want to play this game the rest of my life and for a living. Yeah. So I was a little dude, and I decided that was the situation.
That's really cool to have it like so young in there. Did you have that silky smooth swing when you were that young too? Because you got one of the purest swings out there.
Geez, I don't know. I mean, it's I remember when my mom would take me to the mall, Fairview Mall, like back then too. It's like she'd go to the mall, and she'd give me 25 cents to get a donut and just hang around by myself. And I'd go to the bookstore, because
Okay.
the bookstore, I'd go to the golf section, and I'd go get a golf book, and I'd sit there and I'd open it up, and I would look at how the wrinkles on Ben Hogan's hand, like there's a couple of pictures of Ben Hogan on my wall behind me there. I would look at Arnold Palmer, Nicholas, and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, Nicholas Script doesn't look that great, but Arnold Palmer sure looks great. Ben Hogan's, ooh, that looks great. And so I try to mimic that. And then when I was 12, I got in this junior golf program that George Newton put on. And I'd had some lessons from him previously because he'd done some free junior clinics things in and around my area. And I'd go to them, and I got to meet him. He was super nice. And so I think the fact that I'd gone to a couple of those things prior to actually him starting this program, he knew that I was a keener and I was into it. Because like 200 kids showed up for this thing, and like 12 kids made it. And yeah, every kid in the Toronto area and Southern Ontario pretty much tried to make this program. But I'd been to a couple of his little camps prior to that, and so he knew that I was into it, and
Hmm.
that's all he really wanted. He just wanted keen, hardworking kids. He even took a guy named Doug Hasty, old friend of mine. We were like 12-year-olds, and Doug barely knew what end of the club to hold. Like he literally, but he was one of the youngest kids there. I was 12, and I was already like into it and a golf freak and breaking 80. You know what I mean? Doug would shoot 102, but George saw that this kid was passionate and he wanted to be there, and George took him, and Doug became a damn fine player, and he's a golf professional today and lives out in Western Canada and is a damn fine teacher. So yeah, that was that 12-year-old junior program, and those kids, there was, I'd say, I don't know, maybe a dozen of us, and there was maybe one 17-year-old. There was maybe one or two 16-year-olds, a couple 15-year-olds, a couple more 14, and then 7 or 8 12-year-olds, because he wanted them sort of young to kind of
Hmm.
quote mold them. And we loved it, man. It was fun. We'd get to the course every day at 8. We'd practice till about 11:30 with him watching. That was like the tutelage of the day. A lot of ball striking, some short game. Not as much. Looking back, we should have chipped and putted way more than we did, but we hit a lot of balls with
Gotcha.
George Newton watching. It was pretty cool. And then Ben Kern and Mo Norman would be around once in a while, which was absolutely unbelievable.
That's wild. What was that like?
Well, he was like the savant of golf. Like you
Yeah.
could tell, even at a young age, he knew he was a little different. He
Hmm.
wasn't like the normal guy that was
Yeah.
whatever he aged. He passed away in 2004,
Hmm.
and I think he was 60 something, or I forget how old he was. Maybe I can't remember how old he was, but like you knew he was like at 12. I'm like, this dude's a little off, but he's obviously a genius, and everybody
Hmm.
gives him massive respect.
Yeah.
And make a golf ball stop wherever he wants it to stop. Like he can hit it. If you went out, if you walked out there 150 yards and you gave Mo a 7 iron and you gave him a couple of balls, you better be praying that he doesn't bean you, because I'm telling you, he was that accurate. It was ridiculous. And there's so much talk about who the greatest ball striker was, and and people yelling on about Ben Hogan obviously and Sam Snead and these greats, and now everybody's unbelievable at it. But the guy, it's tough to argue, because even the Canadian tour is still a Canadian tour. I mean, there's still damn good players, and he beat the hell out of everybody.
Hmm.
He won the Canadian Amateur multiple times. He won
Yeah.
every provincial thing you could win. He was an awesome player too, and crazy hitter of a golf ball. And he had a little bit of a autistic bent that maybe
Hmm.
helped him, maybe didn't, because all he did was hit golf balls, play golf, and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, he was a machine. He literally just, I mean, I've read so much, legend about him and how he just wouldn't miss fairways and just, hit it within 10 yards, hitting driver all day. Like just sounded like it, I think even Tiger said he's like one of the few guys he said that ever really trusted his swing was Mo. So, I mean, that's as high a compliment as you can get, right?
Yeah. No, it was crazy. It was crazy to watch. Yeah.
When you start getting into tournaments and stuff, did you like that competitive side of things at a young age? Obviously playing hockey, I know that's a little different than playing competitive golf. Is that something though you just like that tournament side of things?
You know, yeah, I guess so. I think every tournament player, you get one, you have a bit of belief in your ability, like you think you belong in that space. At some point, you make your mind up that you belong,
Hmm.
um, and then and then it's a matter of, okay, I got to manage my emotions for 18 holes. As a kid or as a teenager, as a college player, and as a pro. And so you realize like you're going to take shots in the chin. You get punched in the nose in golf, and it's okay. And then you just keep plodding along. And so, mentally, I got decent at it, knowing that I'm going to do the best I can today, no matter what. Like literally, that's how I felt. Yeah, okay, maybe today's going poorly. I might get ahead of myself and be explaining to my mother or father why I played bad, even though I've only played 4 holes today. And even as a young kid, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, time out, time out. They don't start making like forecasting things about the day.
Hmm.
It's just getting going. You know what I mean? And then you might
Totally.
rattle a birdie or two out, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm back or whatever. So I just started from a young age. I'm just like, okay, I have this shot, hit this shot. Okay, I have another shot, hit this shot. As stupid and as cliche as it is just one shot at a time. And there
Hmm.
is no future and there is no past. It's that stupid, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but the more you just kind of go, okay, I might have just barfed on myself and laid the sod over a chip and made a terrible bogey, but that was so long ago. Even though it was only 8 minutes ago, it's so long ago, right? And there's 8,000 fruit flies have died since then. It's okay. We're gonna be fine.
I like that perspective.
you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, we're all guilty of time traveling, right? We
oh,
either dwell on the past or, I love it like when I was at the range a couple days ago and just, seeing guys at the range next to me and they're, oh, it's gonna be a bad day today, just based on how they're hitting the range. And I'm like, oh man, like
I
we have
know.
such a, and then you three putt the first hole. Now you're gonna be bad putting all day. It's like if you could just go with what you just said and keep the fruit fly analogy, I feel like
Oh,
golfers are gonna just not even need me and you because they're like just gonna be so much better.
and that's it. And so a big part of the golf school now that I coach is just so much about routine. And like you had a picture of Tiger on the wall there. Well, Scott Fawcett's a friend of mine. He's actually in town now at the Champions Tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he sent me this great video years ago, and it was this, and you may have seen it. It's this thing he did about Tiger. It was in 2018. He did this video of Tiger Woods in 2000, and he literally stopped watching the whole year.
I love that video.
It's
Yeah.
a crazy video. So I
Hmm.
show my students this. I go, here's the great Tiger Woods. What's so great about the most dominant year ever? And so, it's pretty plain to see that everything prior to the committed first step into the shot, was different. His conversations, his choice of club, environment, whatever. The fact that he was, had a burrito for breakfast, who knows? Okay. But the bottom line is once he made his mind up and took his first step, that whole year, it was like a robot.
Hmm.
It was like he calls it a walking meditation, and it was. And I can relate to that because I have had moments in my tournament golf where I feel like my routine is so automatic, and then the outcomes are actually very high level all day long. So the more I just bought into the walk-in routine and the rhythm of my routine and not too worried about the outcome, man, the outcomes were like, ooh, that was good. That driver was really solid, or that iron's on it. And then, and the choices came easy in the routine. So I really try to impress on people that, golf is hard because it's separated by time. We tee off at 8 o'clock. We don't hit our second shot till 8:06. We don't hit our third shot till 8:12. Right. So it's not like we're raking the ball and hitting it on the range with this like, really quick memory of the shot we hit or missed a second ago. And then we can
Hmm.
adjust for it. Right. Real golf is okay, let's hit a shot and look at the clock for 5 minutes. And then, oh, we get to hit another one. Oh, but this time it's on a little funky hill with a little wind in our face, and then we got this crazy stimuli of this miserable bunker that, we died in 2 years ago when we played here. It took two to get out of, or three or worse. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Scar tissue stuff sometimes.
so it's like I try to say to people, okay, there's a golf camp yeah, we're going to fix technique stuff. There's no question. Bad grips and crazy arms and whatever they brought to us, and maybe we rearrange some of that. But ultimately, can they really walk into a golf ball committed with a plan? And I say you're going to either hit a good one, bad one, or an indifferent one, and they're neither three are going to kill you,
Hmm.
And it's like, can you handle that? Yeah, I hope so, right? And I tell stories about, like, I remember Canadian Masters one year. I get paired with this really good player named Roger Wessels. He was a South African guy, and they had if you played in the South African tour, they give you that you could play the Canadian tour. And so this guy comes over to the Canadian Masters at a great course in Southern Ontario, Huron Point, I think it was called. Anyway, the first hole is like a 3-wood par four. It's like 360 or 380, but it kind of got super tight. And so you couldn't hit driver anyway. But nowadays, some guy would probably try to hit it on the green. But back then, it was like, 250 shot was plenty, then a wedge or 9 iron on the green. So, now on the tee from blah, 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 South Africa, Roger Wessels, tip of the cap, flushes a 3-wood down there. Like, that's nice. I get up on the tee, local boy, blah, blah, blah. There's not too many people around, but there's a couple hundred maybe, a smattering of applause. And I proceed like to heel top one, barely through the dewy grass, like to where it was like I could hit it, but it was like pretty in thick rough, not even like by the ladies' tee almost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like over and says boom, 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 boom. Oh, sweat! Like just felt this like, oh my gosh! I just like literally heel topped it in front of a bunch of people rooting for me to do well in my hometown, playing this cool tournament, which I think Mike Weir won that year. Anyway, I go down there and I hack it down there by his ball. I knock it on 15 feet and I make a par.
Such a
He,
good four.
you know what I mean? He hits
Yep.
it 20 feet and misses. And, he looks at me and I look at him and I'm like, nice par. You know what I mean? Away we go. And I played a nice round of golf, right? And so it's like, yeah, I just hit an amazingly embarrassing shot. And I tell people I'm incapable of being embarrassed, by the way.
Mm.
Incapable. I am. It's impossible. I could poop on my desk right now and you could put it on out there. That'd be weird. But I'm just saying, it's like tournament golf. When you really play tournament golf, there's no, you're going to hit shots that are some new golfer won't even hit in front of people.
Oh
And, it,
yeah, I've been
and,
there.
it,
I get it.
and it's absolutely okay. You know what I mean?
When did you stop being embarrassed? Was that something that you feel like it was early on, or did that just like were like for that shot specifically? Were you embarrassed, or were you
Oh,
already past that?
no, I wasn't completely past that then. Obviously, it didn't make me like, turtle into some spot. But I remember a college situation, and it was a marketing presentation. It wasn't even golf. So it was like the senior marketing presentation. Like I do presentations all the time now. I actually love doing them. I get a kick out of them. I feel like, I Love getting up in front of people and telling them a story about whatever. It's hysterical to me. And I think they feel that, and I enjoy it. And I tell a story about whatever. And when I do it, I pop up some pictures behind me. I don't even put up. I hate stats on a screen. Hate it. Like sometimes guys, like teacher pro guys, will put up a variety of stats, little numbers, and see the crowd like looking like they can't even read the damn numbers, right? And that's not, you're not going to remember these numbers. And people are maybe taking a picture with their phone, blowing it up, trying to look at it. I don't do that. I just put a picture up there, and then the picture reminds me of what to say. And it's like you
Mm.
got Tiger Woods right there. So there's Tiger. That's one of his Sunday, eyeballing some putts somewhere, maybe Augusta or wherever he is, US Open. And, that's that look he's got. And that's cool because when you see Tiger like that, you're excited because somebody's chasing him or he's chasing somebody. And that's a fun place for in golf back in that time. So anyway, I did this marketing presentation. I was messed, dude. Like I didn't sleep the night before. I was pretty prepared. I worked hard. I didn't even know what the presentation's about now, but I did know I had to present in front of the class, which was probably 50 or 60 kids that were seniors at New Mexico State. So I'm prepared. I'm going to put a tie on, and I still have that tie. And so the professor says, "Okay, Martin Chuck presenting on." I can't even tell you. I get up there and I'm like, bum, 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 I'm sweating, clammy, whatever. And then I just had this moment of looking around at everybody out there, and they're kind of half disinterested, and not even half, probably mostly. And then
Yep.
they really don't care, yet I really care. And maybe I should just relax a bit and just have a little like fun with these people, try to keep them awake for this hour morning marketing thing that they probably had a crazy night in college, and the typical college kids, and they got to watch me because they just have to. So I just decided, you know what? There's this one football player buddy of mine in the front row, like half nodding off. His name was Doug. And I'm like, I'm not letting Doug fall asleep. I am going to entertain Doug for this marketing presentation right now. And I just made my mind up that I'm just going to have a little fun with this. And at the end, people are saying, that was great, man. You did a great job. That was like, oh, okay, cool. And nobody had it. They didn't realize like how I was dying prior to starting this thing. And so after that, presentations and getting up in front of people really wasn't a big deal anymore. And then, college golf, man, I hit plenty of terrible shots and I had plenty of great shots. So, like, those experiences in life were invaluable to me because now all I do as a coach, like, I'm half entertainer now. Like I do plenty of one-on-one coaching too, but really it's like I have a group of people in front of me with my awesome assistant coaches. And it's like, all right, 15 people, let's go. There's 5 coaches, there's me. We break into pods of 3. I tell stories. I try to inspire them. I say, hey, listen, I'm not your club pro. I don't have to be nice to you. I'm gonna coach you.
Yeah.
If you suck at something, I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you how to fix it, and I'm gonna be on you. And I'm not even worried about your outcomes. I don't care if you hit one good shot in front of me. If I want your hands on a certain way, I want your hands on a certain way. I don't care that the ball doesn't do it. You couldn't hit it when you got here. So it's okay that you can't hit it now. But if
Mhm.
you pay attention and follow these little steps, you'll slowly start to build something more reliable, which you'll appreciate and I'll really appreciate. So then they'll be like, whoa, what's this guy talking about? I thought he was really nice. I watch his videos. He seems really, really nice. He's not very nice. I am nice, but I'm trying to be like, think about it.
Mhm.
I say to people, and some people haven't been coached. They never played sports. They didn't grow up playing football or hockey or having different coaches, like literally, blow whistles and holler and maybe make them run laps, or in my case, skate across the ice a million times. And I played a lot of football too, but they're not used to that, right? So it's like in golf, you got to be a little more gentle with them. But I also feel bad for the club pro guy because club pro guy he's going to see them every day no matter what. So there's this nice placating manner they have to have rather than a true coach.
That's
It's
true.
like,
I never thought about it like that.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I always say to people, I go, I'm not your club pro. I don't have to be nice to you. You chose to come here. I didn't make you. But it is my job to help you get better and be honest with you. And then they laugh and
Hmm.
they appreciate it.
Well, clearly it's working because, like we said before we hit record, you guys are killing it. You guys got academies all the time. I had here, you've done 50,000 in-person lessons and done over 1,000 golf academies. Like, that's
You
wild.
know, the numbers are mildly inflated because when you think about it, I've done clinics in front of 100 people. So, it's like, but as far as, yeah, I've been teaching for 40 years. I started when I was 16, working for George Knudsen at his range in Buttonville, Ontario. Now, did I work, for 40 years, did I work full time as a teaching pro? No, there was lots of spaces in there where I played and I went to school, but I've been teaching in some capacity since I was 16, working for him. And now that's all I do.
Hmm.
Right. So I don't know who does more golf schools in the world than me. I'm not sure there's anybody, to be honest. If there are, a big clap to them. But I tell you what, I have a damn fun time doing them.
Yeah.
And people are hysterical. They are hysterical because they might suck when they come to see me, and they might suck when they leave. And that's a damn shame, because why would they hold on to sucking at golf when the time they could spend with caring coaches like my team and we could absolutely retool what they do. But they hold on to their 100 or their 105 or their 98 or their squibby fade that might go a buck 75, when if they would just surrender. And it's okay to do something different. Because on the other side of that little bit of struggle and a little bit of surrender is, way more reliability in your ball striking. But they're so comfortable in their behaviors that any kind of change is ridiculously hard. And yet they paid for the golf school and it's expensive.
Right.
And then I get people that come and they're like, I'm all in. What do you want
Hmm.
me to do, coach? And they do unbelievably. And then we give people the way to stay in touch afterward. Because here's what I know. It's like, I don't expect you to get this like motion pattern down perfectly in 3 days. I don't, or 2 days, depending on what camp you come to. But I do show you, hey, here's how you stay in touch. Here's how you take your own video. Now that's a generational issue for some. But here's how we stay in touch really simply. I'll keep you kind of bumped down the road of success. If because I we take a ton of video content to every student with overlay videos and examples and blah blah blah. And all they have to do is send us one back. Because if they send one back, we look at it and we go, hey, way to go. Or,
Hmm.
hey, let's consider this. Let's go back to this condition, and that'll help you get better.
What do you feel like are some of the tendencies that, I mean, you've had so many different people and so many different skill levels. Like, is there's like three things that you see that are like, wow, if this is something you could get rid of, or if this is something, you could improve in practice, anything that like glaringly comes out like clockwork every camp?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd say if I could go back in time and there's some Scotsman on a ship, and it's a rainy, rickety day, and he's coming over from Scotland. He's played a bit of golf, and he fancies himself a high level player. And he's coming over to the United States, and he's going to work at some club as a caddy, and he's going to coach golf. And I could impress upon him to not teach the interlock grip. I'd do that in a heartbeat. And everybody listening is like, "What? I have the interlock grip." And then I'll say, "Yeah, and you probably are not a very good golfer, I hate to say." And then they'll say, "Well, Tiger Woods, the picture behind him, he has the interlock grip, and so does Jack Nicklaus." And I would say, "Yes, they do, and they're very good at it." However, as a coach who's coached forever now, because I am father time now, I'm 56 years old, I'm old as hell. Okay, here's my point. There's a sensation, and are people going to watch this video? Or are they just listening? I
Both.
don't. Oh, okay. There's a sensation of putting your knuckles together, interlock, that gets fingers webbing to webbing. And once you do that and you get in a bunch of reps and start sucking at golf to some degree, you're behind the eight ball quick. Because as soon as you get your webbing to webbing of your trail hand to your left, it's really hard to get your right hand on the grip properly. I mean,
Hmm.
there's some great, obviously, players that interlock. They've had some caring coaches like John Anselmo was Tiger's coach at a young age, and of course his father. And then there was Jack Grout, Jack Nicklaus's coach. And yeah, these guys had interlocking grips, but they had great right hands. So somebody had a dictator of grips, i.e., a griptator, that made them do it correctly in their interlock.
Hmm.
Whereas most people picking it up, they go, hey, Johnny shoots 86. He's a good golfer. I'm going to play with Johnny, and he's going to give me some tips. And those tips are, hey, put your hands together and connect them so they stay connected, because you need connected hands when you play golf. Well, you don't. But so then they go webbing to webbing, and then the right hand doesn't fit on nicely, and they suck. Sorry.
I'm surprised that no, I mean, I'm surprised that many people really do have the interlock lip. I would have guessed maybe 10%. Like I have no idea, I guess.
No, at a golf camp, seriously,
Hmm.
the interlock grip, and so 15 people every week,
Yep.
I'm gonna say 12 of them have an interlock grip. Now, keep in
Wow.
mind who comes to see me, my favorite kind of people. The favorite kind of people are people with time and money. They're the best. They come and see me every week. We have a great time. They're typically between like 50 and 80. Okay, because my camp's expensive. I don't apologize for that. I position
Yeah.
myself and I'm happy they come see me. Or if somebody 35 comes, it's because their kid is coming with their older adult that's successful that comes to my camp. And I'm telling you, 10 or 12, 13 of them have an interlock grip
Hmm.
where the right hand's on in some poor manner and their left hand's on in a palmy manner. So here's the thing, like they've taken lessons before. Okay, there's very rarely does somebody show up at my camp and they say, "Hey, this is the first lesson I've ever taken." And
Right.
I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well, that's great. Let's get into some basic things and routine, how to walk into a ball, how to aim. That's like paramount stuff. Can you walk into a ball? Can you kind of aim your gun a little bit? Yeah, there's going to be some technical stuff. I'll try not to bury you because that's not my job to do that. Let me just help you shape your swing and rhythm a little differently. Walking into a ball, aiming nicely, okay? But gripping the club, man, like getting this thing in your hand so you can lever it nicely,
Hmm.
so you can feel how it can lever, where the weight plays around in your swing, how the face is, how the thing shifts around a bit, so that you know the sense of the 14 clubs in your bag. Obviously, putter will exclude, but how the shape of the circle gets a little steeper with the wedges, a little flatter with the driver, how the feels and forces against your hands play are so critical that if you have a crap grip, yeah, you can get good at golf, but it's harder, man. It
Hmm.
is way harder. There's some kid that played in the US Amateur this year that makes me look like a moron, like a total moron. He had the worst grip I've ever seen in my life of a good player. I wish I could remember his name. The guy could probably drum me. He had the worst. He had his hands were split. Do you remember this kid? Did you see it on?
I don't, is it a split grip?
It was a split grip.
Oh,
His
no, I
hand.
don't remember this one.
Well, here's the beauty of it. This is the hysteria of it. His hands were split on the grip by like an inch and a half. Okay.
I wouldn't even
Yet,
be able to hit the ball.
well, no kidding. Yet, this pinky finger and index finger were interlocked. So he had the interlock grip. Oh boy, he interlocked it. But I swear
Interlock.
there was an
Wow.
inch between his hands. And yet the kid he got to like the quarterfinals or the round of 16 or something. Like it was, and I'm going, oh my gosh, that
Wow.
is testimony to an athlete and nobody around him going, hey, Jimmy, come on.
Right.
Like, like when you're little enough, let's fix that so you can
Hmm.
articulate the club just a little better. The kid, who knows, maybe he would have been worse, right?
Hmm.
But when you look through the Hall of Fame, buddy, they say, oh, the Hall of Fame's full of a bunch of bizarre grips. I'm like, yeah, there's a handful. Everybody loves looking at the edge of those like bell curves for the
Hmm.
freaks. Okay. And I say the freaks, like, I mean it with love, like Hideki Matsuyama when he paused at the top. He doesn't even do that anymore. Tom Kim, or, goes back, is it Tom Kim or Ben On? I can't remember. It always seems like it's a Korean kid. Like they go back super slow, then do something.
Hmm.
I'm like, you're always pointing out like 1%. These
Yeah.
students come to see me. I'm like, how about point out the meat of the bell curve? These common great grips, great postures, no crazy swing shapes. Like they're
Hmm.
not Jim Furyk, although he's phenomenal. He's an old friend of
Right.
mine. They're just nice functional swings that that work really well. We don't have to
Hmm.
be on the far ends of these wild things, but you can. But let's just kind of go down Main Street with a conventional swing. Works pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, so grips obviously setting the stage. If you screw that up, it's going to make golf even harder.
Oh,
What it sounds like too with your camps are really cool because you do a lot of playing lessons and a lot of short game, and you're not
yeah.
just banging balls on the range. Like, do you feel like a lot of players would just benefit more from having more playing lessons? I know you mentioned Scott Fawcett. We've had him on the show a lot and talking about course management and stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
that's just something most golfers just don't understand, and that's 5 to 7 shots right there you can just get from simply understanding where to position yourself and how to tee up on the right side or go to the right pin. Like I feel like that is just a big area I'm sure that golfers get from you as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Do you feel like there's anything specific like they're, not hitting driver enough or they're hitting driver too much or they, aim at flags too much? You see anything on the course management side of consistent mistakes?
So I think what's fun when we take the players out to play, okay, all my guys are good players, but what they see is imperfection that is
Mm.
function.
So you're actually playing with him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Perfect. That's
Oh,
nice.
and I joke, like we'll play, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 holes of them, but we might drop balls at different spots, maybe play the whole hole, maybe not, maybe go to this hill and talk about how to make it kind of get close to the green. So we'll do, situational things up there, but you'll see, I'll hit a hook in the left rough or behind a tree or something. Okay. They'll be like, "Ooh, Martin Chuck missed a shot." Yeah, I miss shots all the time. But what they'll see from there is, okay, well, I can't hit it on the green, but I can maybe get it within 20 yards, or I can get it to a place where my next little wedge shot's not that hard. Or maybe I can get it on the green, and the risk of hitting it on the green from where I am isn't that bad.
Hmm.
So then I'll talk through the shot and say, okay, so this is what an artful player can do. Every like newbie adult has like one speed. They can take a 7 iron and they hit it whatever their physicality provides. I'll call it full. You get a good player, they can have any kind of speed between their full physicality. Okay, let's call it 90 mile an hour 7 iron, or 35 mile an hour 7 iron. And like your boy Tiger behind you, if they want to flight it down, they can, because they know how to feel the weight of it flex on their hands more to flight it down. If they want to shut the face and make it curve more, they can do that. If they want to, cut across it, they can do that. So a good player can go in one of those weird spots and use their imagination very quickly and go, "Oh, okay, I see. I can paint something cool right now
Hmm.
visually. And I can internalize that sight, and I can feel a motion that makes that sort of match up. Oh, and by the way, I can choose a club and make that kind of come to life. Here's how I do it." And doink, a ball comes out of that trouble spot, maybe goes sort of in the area where I want it. And I always say, once you're in trouble, get out of it, right? But if you are kind of creative and crafty, you can flight it down under limbs. You can curve it a bit. You can hit it over stuff, and that's a lot of fun, man. Like, and it's not like you want to be really risky and
Yeah.
risk a 10, but the point is being able to creatively get it out of the trouble spot to where you save a bogey or maybe even save a par. Hey, man, that's fun. And so I'll say, every time I play, I'm probably going to make 3 or 4 bogeys. It's just the way
Hmm.
it is. Some days maybe not. Some days I make one or none, and I make a bunch of birdies, and those are unbelievable rounds. But I make bogeys. My goal as a player is to avoid doubles. Doubles usually the golf ball left the property or went in a hazard or whatever. Okay, and for you guys, let's say a double is going to happen. That's okay. How do we avoid a double? How do we just make a bogey? How do we wait until our rhythm kind of kicks in a bit? Maybe we run on a few pars in a row kind of thing, and just expecting when these like knockout punches are coming our way. How do we respond to that? So a lot of my coaching is like what you try to do. You try to help people by being sensible, better golfers, not even through technique necessarily. And so me too,
Hmm.
but I try to blend in the technique and the feels and the shot shapes and the reality that a golfer, like a 7 iron, isn't just, one dimensional. Hit it hard, watch it fly, see where it stops. It can be low, it can be high, it can curve right to left and curve left to right. So we play a variety of games at the golf school. Like we have a pillow punch, like break the glass game. We have different things to show people that you can hit at different trajectories, and they have no clue, man. They'll play 30 years of golf,
Hmm.
walloping shots, and they don't ever take speed off and learn how to knock it down. They don't even see a creative side other than just advance it, advance it, advance it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like creativity and practice is something most people just don't do enough, right? They're just doing the same thing and they're just not having as much fun sometimes because you're, like you said, no matter how good you get, you're going to get in trouble spots. You got to figure out how to get out of it. Do you recommend like the, average like I'd say our listeners are mid 80s, getting
Yeah.
closer to, the 70s. How do you recommend breaking up that practice time between block versus creative using your training age, which I'd love to learn more about, routine practice, competitive? Like how do you kind of recommend spicing that up a little bit so that way they're not just doing the same thing?
So I call it 3 T's. 3 T's is my little memory trick. So you have a technique component, you have a trickery component, and you have a test.
Mm.
So technique is like, okay, what you should always eat your vegetables. It's good for you. Okay. So i.e. you asked me about training aids. Well, smart ball. Can you kind of work in your mobility and control your elbows so you don't mess your wrists up? And one of my training aids is smart ball. A lot of pros wear it, landing it around the neck, inflatable ball below your elbows, blah, blah, blah. Can you warm up, get some reps in? Can you get technique minded without outcome? Don't worry about outcome. And people are
Hmm.
so connected to outcome, it's painful. Where a tour player, or, I'm not a tour player anymore. I still play pretty decent, but what I'm saying, don't be wrapped up with outcome. Like people see me practice, and if they watch from afar, they would see some shots that maybe don't even get airborne. Like there wouldn't
Mm.
be crazy chunkers, but they'd be skinny or miss hits or whatever, and be like, "Oh, what's going on over there? He must have lifted his head." No, I'm not worried about the outcome. I'm worried about a feeling,
Yeah.
and maybe the ball clips off the face nice, or maybe it doesn't.
Hmm.
Whoop-de-doo.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's a technique component, and I say put a timer on it. You're going to have a technique component for X many minutes or a certain amount of sets of golf balls. How many sets of five? Okay. And make that your thing. Like you got maybe a coach that is working on something with you,
Hmm.
and make it a mindful technique piece. And then a trickery piece. Like, what's a trickery piece? Well, there you go. Tigers in mind, because I'm looking at them. Is that, can you flight it around and have a little fun with trickery for 15 minutes? How many different ways can you make it stop on the first screen or the first target you're looking at on the range? Can you hit it high? Can you hit it low? Can you curve it? And most people are like, I just want to hit it. Well, by trying to do all those fancy curves and stuff, you'll just hit it better.
Hmm.
You're starting to have relationships of how a closed face makes the ball fly lower and hook, how an open face makes it go spin more and go up, and maybe go to the right for the right-handed golfer. So you can play around with different shot shapes,
Hmm.
develop different feels, and how the club plays against your hands and how your body behaves. What's it feel like when I finish higher? What's it feel like when I finish a lot lower, more around me? Different ways to see the ball come off. It's basically playful practice. And
Yeah.
then finally a test. So three T's, you know, technique, trickery, and then a test. The last part of practice is I'm not leaving till I hit five balls on that green, or until I hit five drivers or whatever between that target and that target. Or, I'm not leaving until I hit my 7 iron between, I don't know, whatever your physicality dictates. Older dude might be between 135 and 145.
Hmm.
And it, gets their rangefinder out, and they can look and pick some spots. And so now you've given yourself meaningful practice.
Hmm.
You had some technique that nobody really likes to do, but you kind of got to do it. It's some trickery, some creative practice, and then finally a little test. And that's a good session.
Hmm.
I'd say make that 30 minutes or 40 minutes, break it into threes, and
Yeah.
then go chip and putt, man. Go spend some time around the green. The basic chip is the most ignored shot. People suck at it. It should be a crispy little shot that's reliable, that, should, stumble up to the pin, and you got a chance to get it up and down. But people don't really practice that, and they stab away, and they are terrible at it.
What's Martin's secret to the super easy basic chip like that?
So, it's funny you say, because one of the boys at Performance Golf, Donnie's getting married, so he had like a boycation kind of thing, bachelor party golf trip. So as a laugh, I got a two-sided chipper, a Northwestern chipper off of eBay, and then I put a name tag on it. And my whole plan was to, go to lunch and then and tip the maitre d guy to walk in and go, anybody at Lost Club chipper, two-way chipper, anybody? Obviously silence. Oh, Donnie French. Anyway,
Love it.
it didn't go that way because we had no time. But anyway, I gave this to it. What I did do is I gave the two-way chipper to the marshal in the marshal came back and said, Donnie French two-way chipper, and gave him that, which was hysterical. Um, had some fun with that. So my point on that is, why two-way chipper? Because the thing's upright. Like, get the handle up, get the toe down. If the handle's up and the toe's down, it's really easy to have a very vertical arc that doesn't have a whole lot of curve in it.
Yeah. It's like
Too
a
many,
putting stroke then.
yeah, too many people like have the handle low, and there's way too much arc in the face, and they can't touch the ground in the right place. So I say, get right up on top of that thing. Feel like you can drop the ball just like putting stroke, like you said. Handle a little forward. I mean, stupid, simple, basic
Yeah.
stuff that's in every golf magazine. People can't. They don't do that.
It is funny that you talked about that today because I'm putting the finishing touches on my next book, and there was just a section there about that because I was like I had talked about lob wedge, and if you want to break 80, you got to learn to love your lob wedge and just the importance of that. But I'm like, don't forget about just the basic easy shot, and I literally was talking about that. My go-to is a gap wedge for that. What do you think on that? Because I feel like
Yeah.
the pitching wedge, even 9-8, like those are just too hot for me. I feel like there's just no way to stop those on most, unless you have like a ton of green. Is that
Right.
kind of your philosophy?
It all depends on the friction, right? Like if you're playing
Hmm.
at a place where the greens are fast, yeah, you need
Yeah.
gap wedge, sand wedge to chip with.
Hmm.
If you're playing where there's a lot of friction, slower golf courses, muni type things where the grass,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and
So
you can,
same form though, just changing clubs.
yeah, you're just more ball speed based on the friction, right? So
Hmm.
fast greens, a little bit, just gentle, a little bit. It's so key to get the handle up and the toe down,
Yeah.
heel off the ground.
Hmm.
Because that heel, that little elbow where the hosel meets the leading edge, that thing
Hmm.
gets stuck in the ground the worst. So if you can get that
Hmm.
off the ground, the handle high, like a putter, like that chipper that I gave Donnie for his bachelor party. I'm telling you, I'll take somebody's sand wedge, and we have a chipper at the academy, and I'll say, hold your sandwich against that chipper. And they'll be like, why? I go, because that angle, that 72-degree angle or whatever the chippers are built on, your sandwich is at 62. We got to get that shaft up 10 plus degrees for you to become a decent chipper.
Right.
A reliable one that's not going to puke on themselves. That's and if you have it lower than that, you're going to chunk chips and start
Yep.
it out and be a mess.
I just want to like stop there so everyone remembers like just half of good chipping and putting I feel like is setup. Like if you're I
Oh,
mean really your full swing too, but like chipping is not that hard and it's such an easy like I'm just going through all these stats for the average golfer, scratch golfer versus 5 versus 10. I mean, chipping is just such an easy part to get it closer. And then of course we go into putting. You've worked with a lot of players, pros, you've worked
yeah.
with, mid, high, low handicappers. What are some easy putting tips you think that can help too?
Cool. I mean, again, I would
Or
say
any
that
any mistake that you feel like oof, God, I
well,
see this too
I'll
much.
say I'll say here's the thing. I'm such a grip freak, and so if I grip a golf club, the grip to hit it for power, when I grip it, the grip is across my hands.
Hmm.
Okay, and then I undo it a bit to get to the ball. So I grip it with the club across my hands, which is basically the full lever it's going to get to at the top. And then to get the club to the ball at address, it's uncocked a little bit, and that's how I get a club to a ball. Now, what people will do is they'll bugger up their golf grip and they'll get it all palmy in there. Don't get me started on the interlock again. But now putting grip, it's along my arms.
Hmm.
So you can see the grip is along my forearm, right? So we don't grip it for power. We grip it for this ease of. I want your putting grip to be very palmy. I don't want your driver grip to be very palmy because we need to take that speed accumulator out of putting, we hope, right? So that the putter grip's more parallel to both forearms. And in a full swing smash, it's more across the forearms, across the hand, so that you can have the most leverage. So I'd say, if you can get the grip in the player's hands again properly in putting,
Hmm.
then you can bend at the elbows because you don't need to have straight arms in your putt. I know Bryson does and pins it against his arm. He's an amazing putter. But most people have a little softer elbows. The grip's kind of parallel to their forearms. And then they kind of get a coordination with their arms and their shoulders moving, and that moves the putter. And I would say this to people: I'd say don't hit putts. Choose a stroke length and let the ball respond. So don't hit a ball. Just say to yourself, I'm going to find a rhythm to move my putter. And that putter is going to go back however many inches and through however many inches. And let the ball respond and get used to this, seeing how far it rolls rather than trying to hit it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm going to move the putter between my right foot and my left foot, and the ball's going to get in the way. Oh, it rolled 10 feet. Okay, cool.
Mm.
Now I want it to go farther. Good. I'm going to move it to my pinky toe and a little bit far. Oh, it goes farther rather than you trying to physically go. So
Mhm.
that's what I'd say. Let the ball respond.
Do you use a metronome or like the Tour Tempo app or anything like that to work
Yeah,
on that? Because
we
I feel like
did.
that's just another, you either see it too slow or then it's, then the decel happens sometimes too. Is that like a timing? I feel like that's an easy one that a lot of golfers can get.
I'd say the number one thing I see with putters is they have one backstroke length that they like. It's like they have one dimension away
Yep.
from the ball that they're comfortable with.
Hmm.
And the reality is we need a ton of them. So you'll have my neighbor across the street's this great guy, Bob. He's an older dude. And Bob's terrible lag putter. You know why? Because Bob's backstroke's always 6 inches long, no matter if the putt's
Yeah.
feet or 6 feet. Okay, so he's fine. Like, most guys for he got short distance. He's not. He rolls it pretty good. But when he's got a long putt, he takes it back 6 inches, and then there's a Herculean stab to move the ball across the green. It's almost like you got a zap by lightning. And like,
Right.
oh, like it's okay to swing the putter back, buddy. Nobody's going to steal the golf ball if you take the putter back farther. It's okay.
I like that.
You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
people have to realize a back swing, you create more opportunity for this club to come back to the ball. And that's where, again, Bryson is unique and he uses his little ruler and it's
Hmm.
got all those little distances on it. And so he really knows like if I
Yeah.
rhythmically move the putter back this far, the ball's gonna respond and go that far. Now if I can aim it pretty well, it might go in. Right.
Hmm.
So he's kind of mathematically figured it out. Now people do that and they do it a bit more like I'd say artistically than Bryson does, but it doesn't matter how you do it as long as the ball
Hmm.
sort of behaves and goes in. And then Garen Reif's an old friend of mine, and Garen said there's two types of putts. There's everything inside 15 feet and everything outside 15 feet. And inside 15 feet, there's a chance you can make it. Outside 15 feet, don't even try. He goes, just, you let the thing kind of cozy up to the hole. If you make the odd one, you're lucky. He goes, now inside 15 feet, give it a bit more thought, walk up, take a look, because those can go in. So he's taking Mark Brody's stuff and dumbing it down like to and he's been a putter designer guy, studied putter, good putters forever. And that's his 15-foot rule. It's like if you're 25
Hmm.
feet, dude, you're not making it. Just give it a roll. If it dies by the hole. Maybe it falls in. Maybe it goes past. It's a tap in. Just don't leave yourself 5 feet. And you don't three putt because you're left and right 5 feet. You three putt because you're typically short and long 5 feet
Hmm.
or more. The direction's usually not the challenge. It's the where it stops short or long.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had Scott, like I said, talking about distance control with putting a lot. So
Oh,
hopefully the audience is getting that dialed because, man, you're right. It makes such a big difference when you're, have two, 3 footers versus 4 or 5 footers. So hopefully people are working on that. I like the just the idea though of just spending a little bit more time on having different backstrokes. I think that's something everyone can instantly apply. We're already running out of time, man. You kept me laughing all day. So
sure.
before we get into the last little bit here, just tell us a little bit more about all the training aids and stuff. I mean, this is like a whole nother conversation, but this is hard to create these things. And so I know you've worked with tons of students and stuff, but like it's not an easy industry. You've been crushing it in there. You have different training aids for like all kinds of different issues in the golf swing. Anything specific that's new coming out there. I know you have the Smart Ball, one of the most iconic training aids out there. Anything else that you feel like is on the horizon, or just anything else you'd like to share on that?
You're actually in the lab right now. This is my like garage, and I'm cooking up a few really cool things. And I'm not going to go to the PGA show this year. I go every year
I was
typically.
gonna say I figured I'd see you next month.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go. You know why? It's just I'm not launching anything new,
Hmm.
and it's expensive. And I thought, I'm going to wait till do it right instead of trying to half-ass launch this product. I'm going to just try to do it right. And yeah, so I'm working on some fun things, and it's just man, I'm always, and my guys are too. I'm no different. Like my guys and we go through more duct tape and pool noodles and different things at the golf school trying to, we tape people up all the time. I'm telling you, you got stuff attached to them. If we can figure out a way for it and to inspire you to feel differently quicker so that
Hmm.
it's not, you're not lost in this idea of what we're trying to work on, we will do it to you. So between my guys and I, we come up with some stuff that's hysterical. And then, to your point, the training aid business is not easy because unfortunately, in modern times, I hate to say it, our neighbors on the other side of the world, man, they can ship stuff into this country for next to nothing now. And so they'll
Hmm.
knock you off as fast as you can think, which
Yeah,
is a damn shame, really.
it is.
So it's like it's tough for the mom and pop business. Like my wife and I, she runs that business. I do
Mm,
the golf camps. It's hard to knock off a golf camp, thankfully.
yeah.
There's not,
Hard
there's,
to replicate that personality you got too, giving people a little shit, making them laugh, making them better. You're doing it all. So yeah, you can't
but
replace that, right?
man, thank God they can't knock that off and ship it in 4 days for
I
like,
know, man. I hear the robots came after my writing career this last few years, so I get it, man. We always got to stay paranoid and stay
uh,
competitive. So I'll
yeah.
make sure to link to all the training aids though on there too, because I know again you guys have some great stuff. I've used them before as well. You held my inside takeaway a few years ago. I remember running into you at the Raven and telling you that. So
Oh,
yeah, got a lot of
cool.
great stuff, and I'll make sure to link to it there as well. Before getting into the last question, anything specific you'd like people to follow you on or check out?
I mean, my website just tourstriker.com. So Tourstriker, you can find all my stuff there. Instagram's probably the social platform I goof around the most at, and that's Martin Chuck PGA or Tour Striker Golf. I've got one that's kind of more businessy, one that's more silly, and I think people prefer the silly one, the Martin Chuck PGA. So
Mhm.
if I see you online, fantastic. And if you're at the Raven, you get by the Raven in the wintertime, be sure to pop by. You'll see my little white building at the back of the range, or you'll run into me like you did at around the clubhouse somewhere. So
Yeah, it's a great spot you have back there too. It's a nice setup. You got the facility. I had a lesson with Ryan a few years ago back there. So yeah, you guys got a great setup. So keep it up. I know you got a lot of camps coming up too. For the last question, what's the one piece of advice you wish every golfer could take to heart after your 40 plus years of teaching?
one piece of advice golfers take to heart. I'd say, again, it's as stupid as it sounds. You play golf. Golf is hard because it's separated by time. There's a lot of time between every shot, and so the quicker you get over what happened behind you, whether it was great or it was awful, the moment that you can just spend making a decision, picking a good target and committing to that, the better golfer you're going to be, honestly.
Hmm.
And leave technique on the range and be the creative developer of outcomes on the golf course. That's what I'd say. Like leave technique on the range. Swing the weight of the club when you play the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice and definitely wicked smart approved. So we appreciate you being on the show, man. A lot of great stuff.
Awesome. Nice being with you guys.